All right, well, we took a break. We decided that in David's case, it shouldn't be Chicago to Milwaukee. Chicago to Milwaukee, Chicago to Milwaukee. It should be
Montreal to Toronto. Edmonton to Calgary.
Edmonton to Calgary. Edmonton, it's harder to say.
No, it's harder to say. We're figuring this out.
We'll work on it.
Canadian version. America to Canada.
Well, that kind of works. So, what you do after you've done your temperament, you've gone through it again, and hopefully you don't have hot lights in the studio changing the tuning as you're tuning, but then you go through and check all the intervals and make sure that it's what you want, and you kind of don't know what it is you want until you've done it a while, done it enough times to really kind of understand what the sonorities of the chords should be. But the way I kind of look at it is I go through the circle of fifths. So starting with C, should be the slowest, and then going down a fifth to E to F, should be a little bit faster. Down a fifth to B flat, should be a little faster. I haven't tuned that down here yet, but and that's faster because it's an octave higher, a little higher. But so then down to E flat. I haven't tuned this yet either, so that's not going to help us at this point. And then E flat to A flat should be pretty fast, pretty buzzy. A flat to D flat, even buzzier still. It's almost too fast to hear at this point. And then F sharp to A sharp, the fastest yet. You can keep going around the circle of fifths that way, or you can start going up the circle of fifths from C to G. So in this case, you go down F sharp to, let's go the other way around the circle of fifths. So from C to G, a little bit faster, G to D, a little bit faster still, D to A, a little faster still, A to E, faster, E to B, pretty fast, pretty darn fast. The fastest one should always be F sharp, and the slowest one should always be C. Another way to look at it is you can just listen to your intervals, like your pure intervals should be pure, hopefully. So that one's got a little roll, so we want to fix that. Listen to your octaves. Pretty pure octaves, or expanded if you're going to do that. Another way to look at it, which would be more the historical way to look at it, would be to kind of do it in terms of the feeling of the chords. So like D is the triumphant chord. It makes you want to go on a march. C is pure and quiet. And so on like that. F sharp is, you know, agitated. Then you can also look at your minor chords in the same order. So going from A minor to, those are going to be the slowest minor chords. Then D minor, G minor, progressively getting faster and faster. C minor, F minor, really fast now. Kind of ugly actually at this point. This is the funeral march key, so you want this pretty ugly, pretty serious. That's a fast minor third. And then D minor, D flat minor, E flat minor, thank you. And then E minor, E flat minor, which I haven't tuned yet, so I can't really do that. But, so that's, does that make sense?
So far so good, yeah.
And then of course once you tune the piano, you play literature on it and see what, you know, what everything sounds like. And it's such a personal taste thing. Some people are gonna like one key more than another, or you may say, hey, that key doesn't sound quite the way I wanted it to. Maybe I need to make an adjustment, or maybe this isn't the right tuning for me. Maybe I need to find something else that's gonna make that key sound the way I think it should sound. So much personal taste in all of this. Any other questions before we go on to octaves?
Well, I'm glad you played that calming C after that D. I almost marched out of here, but
okay.
You played the C in time. So.
Okay. Well, thank you. All right.
Well, the thirds are so much. They're much more expressive.
Yeah, they're mellower, and this isn't even the purest one. I mean, there's other ones like the Prince key, the tuning where that first third, that C to E is absolutely dead pure, and that's even more so. So this is kind of a compromise. So to tune the octaves, I remember asking Owen Jorgensen once at a convention, how do you tune the octaves? Because he never says that in any of his books. It's always a question. And his answer was always, tune the octaves just the way you would when you're tuning Well Temperament or any other time. And that's fine. In other words, what he meant is expand the octaves, stretch the octaves just like you would in any other tuning. But there's a caveat to that, which he never talked about, which I had to find out just by doing, and that's some of the octaves in this kind of tuning are, the tests for the octaves are either too fast, the beat rates are way too fast, or way too slow, like this. That's too slow to really do a third, 10th test.
Oh, wow.
So you have to come up with something else. So let's just do a few. We've got these 3 tuned already, so let's tune the G. Now here I will start expanding the octaves a little bit, and I like to stretch a lot and even more when I get towards the extremes. So here, that's not going to help me that test, but this one will. If I had that muted out, it would. This is slightly slower, so I'll probably expand it a little more. That's pretty good. And slight roll you want, slight. So, so one of those 2 tests are going to work for you. The next one, let's do the next one. That's pretty fast, but still kind of doable. Already, but this test doesn't work. Way too fast. Can't hear anything with that. So one of these 2 tests is going to work. This one's going to be too slow because it's the F. I mean, you can tell it's off, but not. It's hard to set exactly. But this one you can use. The 3rd, 6th tests you can use. So the same thing going down. Pretty close. I'm going to tune the E flat. Now, typically when I go down in Well Temperament, downtown in Well Temperament, I like to do the 3rd, 6th tests because it works pretty far down on the piano. But that's too fast. So that's still too fast. The 3rd, 10th test still doesn't work. So what we can do, as we did before earlier, is the 10th, 17th. The other alternative is just to move this note temporarily. That's kind of the way that works. Does that make sense? So you're either going to use the minor 3rd, major 6th tests.
The 6/3. So what's that called again?
Minor 3rd, major 6th. What I call it. I don't know what else it's called.
Okay.
Or the 3rd, 10th test. 3rd, 10th. So the note, the 3rd below the bottom note, and then the octave above.
I think that's called the 4/2. That's based on the partials.
Right, exactly. If that doesn't work, and you can drop that bottom note down an octave and do the 10th, 17th test. Clearly that's not right. But that's kind of the way that works. And the extremes, is just pretty much the same thing. I mean, you don't have still the same kind of checks that you would use in equal temperament. You can use some pure interval testing, but I really don't mess with that too much. So, do you have any questions over anything about what we've covered?
One question would be, they need to understand these checks.
Yes.
So maybe could you just say briefly the kinds of checks you need to understand? It's the 6/3, 4/2. They need to know.
I will say that this is a very individual thing.
Okay.
With tuners in general, you learn when you're starting to tune equal temperament anyway. You learn a billion different kind of checks.
Okay.
And eventually you're going to find out which ones work for you, which ones just waste your time.
Yeah.
And so you kind of stop doing the ones that waste your time over eventually. And so these are the ones that I found valuable for this kind of tuning. I use a lot of different checks when I tune equal temperament.
Okay.
But really there's maybe 3 or 4 really only checks that I'm using.
Okay.
The third, I'm doing indigo over now.
No.
I mean,
It's up to you.
that's kind of more its own video, I think, really.
No, sure. I don't think you need to teach people. I think you just need to say you need to look up these checks or understand them.
Certainly the octave tests would be the ones I just went over.
Yeah.
I mean, those are kind of clear. And then the ones to make sure that you're doing a pure 4th or 5th. So that would, for the 4th, that would be the 3rd, 6th test. And for a pure 5th, you'd want to do the inside minor 3rd, major 3rd test. Make sure they're beating the same.
And those people wouldn't be used to an equal temperament. So it's helpful to mention that, I'm sure.
Well, I'm sorry, what am I again?
They wouldn't be used to this check because you never use a check like that in equal temperament. It doesn't make any sense. Or this one.
Oh yeah, use it all the time.
Can you?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Because what happens is a lot of time, especially beginning tuners, will get their 4th or their 5th on the wrong side.
Okay.
They'll be tuning a 4th narrow instead of wide.
Okay.
And so you'll use that to make sure. But it's a check that you'll dispose of quickly when you learn what it really should sound like. And you don't make that mistake as often.
Okay, gotcha.
But initially, you'll use that a lot.
Okay. All right. That's all I got.
Yeah, that's great.
Good.
Well, thank you, David, for coming. This excellent questions and oh Canada.
I'll come home, tune my piano in Thomas Young, and I'll play "Oh Canada" for you.
Well, that would be excellent in every key.
That sounds good.
All right. Well, great. Thanks for jumping on board, and feel free to put any questions you have in the comments. I'm sure there should be a lot of them, I imagine, after all of this. But have fun with it anyway, and just enjoy the process. It's not always the journey; it's the destination. No, it's the other way around. It's not always the destination; it's the journey. So sometimes it's fun just to explore these things and play around with them for a while before you really start using them. But just enjoy tuning it and playing it and see where it takes you. It's fun. Thank you.
All right.